A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our News First studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannayak. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Abnormal high tide on the eastern coast. Seawater flows into homes in Kalmune and Kinya. One person killed as a bus crashes into a house in Salawa, Koskama. Health Ministry cancels leave for public health officers in 10 districts owing to the rapid spread of dengue. Halt the strike and your jobs will be protected. A pledge from the Ports Minister to strikers at the Magampur harbour.
And now the story is in detail. Abnormal high tide conditions were witnessed in several coastal areas of the eastern province this morning, including in Kinya and Kalmune. The Disaster Management Centre noted that the situation had now returned to normal. It was reported last night and this morning that the tide had encroached about 100 metres inland in Trincomalee, Kinya, Akirepattu and Kalmune. However, the Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipili, noted that such occurrences are common for this time of the year. Deputy Director of the Department of Meteorology, Anusha Varnasuriya, noted that the phenomenon was not caused by the severe cyclonic storm Varda. While the unusual high tide had caused some erosion along the coast, no other damage was reported. The Met Department is also forecasting that Cyclone Varda in the Bay of Bengal is likely to cross the coast of Chennai tomorrow evening. A bus careened into a house near the Koskama Hall junction today when the driver lost control of the vehicle. The bus flying from Avisavella to Colombo had ploughed into the home at high speed, killing the homeowner. Police added that 2 others were injured in the collision.
Prevent accidents, save lives.
The Health Ministry has cancelled all leave of public health officers in 10 districts to implement a program to eradicate the dengue epidemic. The Health Ministry states that steps have been taken to carry out continuous programs in Colombo, Gampaha, Kaluthura, Galle, Jaffna, Ratnapura, Kurunegala, Putlam, Batticaloa and Ampara for the eradication of dengue mosquitoes. The dengue prevention program is being carried out with the assistance of the Tri-Forces, the police and the Civil Defence Force. The Health Ministry noted that the highest number of dengue patients in history was recorded this year. 47,900 dengue cases were reported, of which 77 patients lost their lives. According to data from the ministry, the highest number of cases, which amounted to 14,510, was reported from Colombo. In addition, the epidemiology unit of the Health Ministry stated that 6,042 cases were reported from the Gampaha district, 3,119 from Kaluthara, 2,436 from Galle and 2,832 from Ratnapura.
The weather situation and the rainfall during the recent past was one of the main causes for this. Also, according to specialists, the research done recently has shown a change in the virus which causes dengue. This is why an increase in dengue patients is observed.
මේ කාරණා සියල්ල නිසා රෝගීන්ගේ වාර්තා වීමේ යම් වැඩිවීමක් නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා. නිවෙස් පරීක්ෂා කරන්න තියෙන ඩෙන්ගු සති ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන අවස්ථාවල
During inspection of houses in the dengue week, when some of the officials take on these inspections in houses, we can see that no official has ever previously visited some of the houses. In this situation, no matter how much money we spend to eradicate dengue, we can still see that there are shortcongings and difficulties in conveying this message to the public. This has to become more efficient. In this regard, committees at the rural village level need to be strengthened. Welfare and community organizations and programs involving the public need to be strengthened.
A statue of Douglas Anoma, a former leader known for his philanthropy, was unveiled in Burala today by President Maithripala Sirisena.
In a political career stretching from 1936 to 1973, Dudley Senanayake, who was elected as MP from the Dadigam electorate, served 4 terms as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. Senanayake is remembered as a people's leader and was reported even in the Sunday Telegraph in London that 4.5 million mourners flocked to pay their last respects upon his demise. In spite of a long political career, upon his passing, Dudley Senanayake's bank account only held about 400 rupees.
ප්‍රතිමා හදන්න ගුණ වනන්න ගුණ ගයන්න ඒ චරිත අධ්‍යයනය කරන්න.
Each and every one of us must think about how often in this world is a leader born for whom statues can be built and songs of praise can be sung, and whose character is the subject of intense study. Not only in our country but around the world, the disease of wealth and power only began to permeate among leaders in the past 2 to 3 decades. In the 50s and 60s, many leaders in Sri Lanka and abroad received widespread recognition. A politician is only spoken about considering the strength of his character and considering how they govern their people. I have heard that he had only about 400 rupees in his bank account. For the new generation, especially for school-going children, we must reminisce on his character, his philanthropy and how he faced many hardships.
කටයුතු කළේ කෙසේද කියන එක අපි සිහිපත් කරන්නට ඕනේ.
The Borala Cemetery roundabout was renamed Dudley Senanayake roundabout today.
I see 5 things that they must adhere to in the new year. First is they must take decisions which are correct. Poor decision making based on egoistic or short-term needs of the party or personal gains should be avoided. They must ensure that every single decision they take are free of corruption. That's the second important aspect. The third is the poor governance. They must take accountability for every decision. They must uphold the promises they made prior to coming into power.
One example of poor decision making by this government are the decisions taken surrounding the Mattala International Airport. The largest greenfield airport in the country, the Mattala International Airport was declared open in March 2013. During the same time frame, the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka awarded the airport the International Airport Certification, allowing it to receive international flights. This certification is endorsed by the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, which is a UN specialized agency. According to ICAO, the regulators of the airport should not only certify the airport, but should make sure it remains certified as traffic grows and the aerodrome expands to accommodate the future. Last year, a decision was taken to store paddy at the Mattala airport. The decision came under much scrutiny by a number of factions over the recent past. Did the Mattala International Airport receive the international certification it should receive for the year 2016?
One was the rather foolish decision to store paddy at the Mattala Airport. The Mattala Airport has lost the airport certification granted by the Director General of Civil Aviation as per the approval of the International Civil Aviation Organization. Its staff was reduced, certain sections were removed and it was weakened from all sides. What was the result? This Mattala Airport, which lost the international airport license, was given a very low price by the Chinese. This is a crime.
In regard to Mattala Aerodrome, we have given an aerodrome certificate in conformity with the International Civil Aviation Standards, and it was initially given in 2013 and it was valid for a period of 2 years. So it was to be renewed this year, but after taking into account the low level of operations, we extended the validity by another year, and in the meantime we have scheduled a detailed audit at the beginning of next year, and on completion of that we will be able to renew the aerodrome certification.
Poor decision making is a result of poor experience in governance. Decades of political experience does not necessarily translate to effective leadership. Poor decisions such as this, while directed at the gallery, end up costing the country even more.
On to another one of our headline-making stories. Workers at the Magampura harbour in Hambantota continued their strike action for a 5th day today.
The Singaporean ship carrying a cargo of motor vehicles, which had been seized by the striking workers 4 days ago and was taken over by the Navy yesterday, left the port. A second ship, owned by a Chinese corporation carrying a cargo of iron and gas, is still in port and in the custody of the Navy. Sources at the harbour say that the ship is unable to weigh anchor as there are no workers to unload the cargo. While the dock is under the control of Navy, other sections of the harbour, including the administration building, have been secured by the police and the Special Task Force. Minister Mahinda Amaravira visited the harbour this afternoon to meet with the strikers. We still do not know whether the Chinese are taking it or not. Discussions were held with China and a preliminary agreement was signed. A proper agreement has not been signed as yet. It has not been concluded. We do not know how many months it will take. Calculations have to be made. This is not like purchasing an item from a shop. We are still speaking to the Chinese. They do not like what is happening here. If you stop this now, then I can speak to the Chinese by noon tomorrow and ensure that they guarantee all of your jobs. But if they are not willing to withdraw and return to work, at least by noon tomorrow, then I will have to make some decisions. If the Chinese corporation says no, we cannot turn back. Meanwhile, at a media briefing convened today, the All Ceylon General Ports Employees Union had this to say. The previous government recruited 20 persons to Sri Lanka ports through the job training program. This government too has recruited about 20 people to the Ports Authority. The government is trumpeting how they will generate 1 million jobs, but they are unable to make plans for the jobs of these 483 workers. When they cannot give 483 jobs, how will they give 1 million? The workers have been dragged to the streets. This is being done by the Malik Ranil Committee, the Economic Management Committee. They do not take any notice of what any of the ministers say. They take all the decisions unilaterally and unload it on the port.
On the 8th of January 2015, people were given a reason to be hopeful, but what fate has befallen this hope? On this week's editorial, our focus is on hope and despair and the reasons for the emergence of a people's force.
The News First editorial.
The emergence of a people's force. Hope. When there is no objective in life, people live life only because they need to survive. In simple terms, life is a fluid concept. When traveling and conversing with people, it is common to see that they are trying to survive by making sure that they at least receive their daily meals. Many farmers are stepping away from farming, or they only cultivate for survival. Office employees report to work only because they need to and not because they want to. Businessmen lament the uncertainty of what the future holds. A sense of hopelessness and emptiness seems to have permeated the souls of people across the nation. The flowers planted on either side of the road for beautification have wilted away and the pots are dilapidated. There is no mechanism to even clear these damaged flower pots or the debris. When such scenes greet the eye, sorrow and discontent fills the heart. It certainly does not instill hope in the people, nor does it inspire confidence in the current system of governance. It would seem that no one is interested in such matters anymore. The blooming plants placed in these flower pots have withered due to the lack of care, or one could also extrapolate from these scenes that the plants have withered due to a loss of purpose. Bent and broken lampposts are becoming an increasingly common sight across the cities and towns of our country. Light bulbs hanging from the wires that connect them pose a serious threat to pedestrians on the pavements below. What has happened to the maintenance of the infrastructure of our towns and cities? In addition to the general public, officials and activists too are facing a dilemma regarding governance in the country. All vestiges of hope and expectation are fading, and it seems evident that this sense of hopelessness and despair has been caused by the rulers who themselves have brought about this situation. While the ruling class strikes deals with the thieves and the corrupt, for the public, all that remains is the empty promise that was made to end the culture of impunity. Public property is being stolen every day, and it does not seem that this trend will stop. The thieves, the murderers, the racketeers and the corrupt do not spend their jail time behind bars, they spend it at the prison hospital. The reasons why they are admitted to the prison hospital are farcical, ranging from an incorrect body mass index ratio to, as MP Hirunika Premachanda mentioned in Parliament, testicular pains. Sometimes it is because they have high blood pressure or diabetes. When they committed the crime for which they were convicted, did they have the correct body mass index ratio? Did they have testicular pains? Did they have diabetes or high blood pressure? The general public knows better. Those who were accused in the past of being thieves, rapists and extortionists are now being called in for friendly gatherings. When the friends thieve and extort, they go unpunished and unharmed. People who were accused of having 2 birth certificates and 2 passports can still show off their power to the general public. The mere existence of the law is not enough. It must be enforced in full view of the people if they are to have any faith in the rule of law. Immediate steps must be taken to bring a halt to the culture of impunity and drive away the sense of despair, the hopelessness and the uncertainty from the people. If this is not achieved, a new program, a new mechanism, a new force will soon emerge from among the people.
Fourteen petitions have been filed at the Supreme Court thus far seeking an international warrant for the arrest of Sandaruwan Senadira, the editor of Lanka E News. Meanwhile, speaking today, Minister Salat Fonseca said that steps must be taken against this individual for exceeding limits in insulting certain persons.
The allegation against the Lanka E News website and its editor Sandaruwan Senadira is malicious reporting intended to defame the characters of certain persons. Following the attack on the Lanka E News website on the 30th of January 2011, Sandaruwan Senadira had travelled overseas and the website is also now operated from overseas. Several ministers claimed recently that while Senadira contacts individuals including politicians and businessmen seeking funds, he publishes insulting reports on the website regarding persons who refuse to pay.
Lanka E News attacked me recently. They had asked me for money. They asked me to pay some money from the Ports Authority and that they would raise my profile. I said I have nothing to give. I can state with responsibility that many businessmen pay this man because he will sling mud at them if they refuse. Politicians and businessmen both make payments to him or he slings mud at them. I can fearlessly say that more than 70 reports criticizing the judiciary and insulting the judiciary have been published on the media website Lanka E News. The judges have been left hapless. The day before they are due to deliver a verdict, the website publishes reports saying that the judge had a meal at a certain person's home and that the judge received a payment from a certain person. How can the judge deliver a verdict after that? Who is trying to destroy the independent judiciary that we rebuilt with much difficulty? Who is Lanka E News? Who is Sandaruwan? He was chased out of this country. He is not a journalist. You can pay £100 to Sandaruwan and ask him to sling mud at anyone via Lanka E News.
A few days after the Justice Minister's statement in Parliament on the 25th of November, Gampaha Magistrate Kavindya Nanayakara issued an order to secure an international warrant for the arrest of Sandaruwan Senadira. Senadira was accused of contempt of court for publishing the photograph of the suspect alleged to have assaulted journalist Upali Tennakon. When the case was heard on Friday, the CID informed court that an international warrant could not be secured as Interpol had noted that a warrant cannot be issued unless charges are filed in court against Sandaruwan Senadira. 14 petitions have been filed at the Supreme Court thus far, citing contempt of court on the part of Sandaruwan Senadira. Accepting the petitions, the Supreme Court has noted that it is prepared to hear these petitions on the 10th, 16th and the 19th of January.
Not only I, number of lawyers have thought it is time for us to take this matter to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, after examining, we expect the Supreme Court issue international warrant of arrest to arrest this man and bring him to Sri Lanka and ask him and request and then order him to appear in the Supreme Court and answer the charges that are brought against him.
Who is behind the Lanka E News website and the individual known as Sandaruwan Senadira?
It is being run by persons who are against us, and there is no one in the opposition who is against us. I say that this is run with the blessings of the government.
According to a letter published by Lanka E News at 12:45 p.m. on the 1st of December, Coordinating Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Tusitha Hallolua, is a close associate. While Hallolua had previously served on the board of directors of Sri Lanka Telecom, he is a close confidant of the foreign minister.
He has been extorting money, and if you do not subscribe to his extortion, your entire character is defamed. The most counter-malicious, the most defamatory articles, not only about you, about your family, about your children.
He is in England and they do everything in pounds. There must be freedom, but at the same time, journalists must use this freedom ethically. If this freedom is being used to defame people, and if it is being done for personal gain or profit, it is completely wrong. We condemn it. As a result, steps will have to be taken against such journalists who have exceeded limits and done an injustice to society. Many persons have complained about Lanka E News.
Lanka E News We
know who is ruining it. We know who is raising funds for it. Such social media websites are accepted for social justice. If they are going to act in this way, we have to enforce the law. I remind you that we will not allow any action that threatens national security and the lives of our people.
A pipeline which has been providing water to Maligakanda from Labugama for 130 years ruptured today, inundating about 10 houses.
The pipeline has ruptured at around 3 a.m. today when a lorry transporting vegetables from Buttala suddenly sank due to a cave-in on the road in Hevagama, Kaduwela. A van had gone before me. After that, when I moved forward, the road caved in front of me. I stopped and tried to reverse the vehicle, but I couldn't. Then I tried getting a tipper to pull the vehicle, but it had sunk in. 10 houses in the Hevagama region were inundated in about 2 feet of water. It is like a flood. There is about 2 feet of water in the house. The road was resurfaced the day before yesterday and they could see the leak, but they continued with resurfacing work anyway. The senior assistant engineer in charge at the Ambatale plant, Atula Vijaya, noted that the water would be supplied up to Maligakanda using other pipelines. He added that repair work has commenced on the ruptured pipeline.
The Global Energy Parliament 2016 was held under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at Temple Trees Auditorium in Colombo today.
The Global Energy Parliament 2016 will examine solutions about how humans, animals, plants, water, air and earth can live together peacefully and flourish.
If you are to live in harmony with the human beings, the animals and the climate, then first there must be harmony among human beings. There must be harmony among different ethnic groups. There must be harmony among different faiths. The best example is Sri Lanka. As the war raged on, in the last phase, we saw how the absence of harmony, which led to killing among human beings, also led to the devastation of the environment of the northern region. And it was a difficult time that the interfaith coalition set about trying to bring together the people of different races, different religions in Sri Lanka. It was at a time when trying to bring harmony among different groups, to talk of normalization was not at all approved, and those who did so got into disfavor. I am on one hand heartened by the fact that people are getting together. They believe in national unity, in national reconciliation, and they say this is enough is enough. There are still a handful who try to mobilize ethnic hatred or religious hatred to create disunity for their purposes.
We live at a time when human impact on the ecology of the planet has caused concern for human health, economy, and social justice. The challenge before us is to create a habitat that allows us to live in harmony in just societies, enjoying the fruits of sustainable welfare.
Construction of the 211th village under the revived Udagamana concept got underway in Hambantota today.
The construction of this village, named after the national hero Kapetipola, commenced under the auspices of Minister of Housing Sajid Premadasa in the Habaralawath area in Suryawawa. At a moment when our government is taking a historic step towards eradicating poverty, a group of inexperienced politicians who have no knowledge about their district go before the parliament and without shame say that there are only 61 houses that are being built in the country. They have taken over thousands of acres of land by force for their families. There are hundreds and thousands of people in this country who don't have an inch of land to call their own. Our government always attempts to give you that right of ownership.
The Yangoda Kalanimula Road was declared open by parliamentarian S.M. Marika today.
The road was renovated and resurfaced at a cost of 20 million rupees. The thieves are calling others thieves. It is as if the village rogue robs a house and then lodges a complaint against the owners that they have robbed their own house. The joint gang thinks that our silence is a sign of fear. Therefore, we request the President and the Prime Minister to speed up these investigations and throw these rogues in jail.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.